Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the webinar today. Our topic of discussion is 2025 data and analytics trends, and we're going to be challenging the idea of what the definition of BI is and what BI should look like in the future. So let's get started. I'm Greta Brauer, Director of Product Strategy and Product Marketing at GoodData. I'm going to be kind of your host and MC today, and with me I have my colleague Ryan. Ryan's a VP of Product at GoodData, and you will also be hearing from him. Ryan, do you want to do an intro?
Uh, no. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. All right, just a couple housekeeping notes before we jump in. Everyone is muted, but please use the Q&A box to submit questions. We will address them live as we go, or if one doesn't kind of fit into the agenda, we will address them at the end. We will also send all registrants, whether you're here for the whole thing or not, the link to the recording over the next couple of days, and in that we'll also address any unanswered Q&A questions. Okay, today we have what I would call an interesting agenda. First, of course, we're going to introduce GoodData in case you're not familiar. Then we're going to share about kind of the historical evolution of BI and what we are anticipating is coming next in the industry and what, proof points of what we're already seeing. And then, yeah, like I said, at the end, we'll have some time for discussion Q&A. All right, with that, Ryan, over to you.
Yeah. Yeah, just
Intro.
a quick introduction to us in case you're unfamiliar. We're kind of a BI and analytics platform that's really focused on uh, the creation of kind of data products as opposed to just dashboards and charts. Now, dashboards and charts are an important part of what we do, but it's not all that we do. If you think about us historically, you may think, oh, good data is embedded BI, and an embedded BI is an important component of it. But you'll see today that what we do and our perspective is much broader than kind of a classical definition of embedding. Now, we're used all across the globe. Many of the Fortune 500 use GoodData, and we have millions of end users a month. We process hundreds of millions or billions of queries a month, and so we really have a very broad and varied user base out there. And there's a lot that sets us apart from other BI vendors that we'll get into over the course of today's conversation. The last thing, before we jump into the content, I would, Greta mentioned ask questions. We try to do things a little differently here at GoodData insofar as we want this to be a little more interactive. So yeah, there's a slide deck. I'm going to talk about what's on the slide. But if you get questions into the Q&A here in Zoom, we will address them. And we will often address them as we're presenting. Okay, so it's more fun for everyone if you get those questions into the Q&A. So please don't be silent. All right.
Cool.
So let's move on with the content today. So first, we'll talk a little bit about the evolution of BI, right? And if you've been in this industry a while, you have lived some of this. I personally started in kind of the late 2000s, working on some of the platforms you see here. So, what is the evolution of BI? It's been very tools focused, I would say, is how our industry has gone. So we tend to measure the eras of BI by what tools were popular. You see Business Objects and Cognos were really big in the 2000s. In the 2010s, we get a much more visual focused, kind of self-service focused style of BI with Tableau and Power BI in particular being the major vendors that we saw then. And now, of course, we're moving into kind of the data product era, the AI era, certainly. And that's what we're really focused on at GoodData is trying to build the right tool set for that new era of BI. But the key thing to think about is, as we chart the evolution of business intelligence over the years, we have this focus on tooling to we would argue the detriment of kind of process and philosophy of BI and analytics delivery. And so if we think about that, and you can advance the slide here, Greta. There's been a big change in the industry over the years. If we compare ourselves in BI and the data world in general to, say, software, right? So what's happened in software from the 2010s heading into 2023, 2024, 2025, a lot has changed. You think about the shift from waterfall to agile development, the advent of the microservices architecture certainly was invented before 2010, but really took over in the last 10, 15 years. The move to things like CI/CD and the advent of product thinking in software development. All of these have driven the innovations we've seen in software and artificial intelligence over the last decade. And in that time, there were changes in the data industry, but at the BI level in particular, we did not see huge advancements in thinking or the way that we work. It was really like the graphics got better. I don't know if anybody watching is a gamer, but like we had some graphical enhancements over those years, but the game we play stayed largely the same. And that worked for a while. But we're really starting to see with the evolution of new experiences and types of collaboration. Greta, you can advance the slide here. That what people expect is changing. Both the user experience they expect out of business intelligence tools and business intelligence and analytics in general, and the way that we're expected to interact with one another. And you may think, okay, well, this is all driven by AI, right? Yes, AI is an important component of it, but this was happening before AI, before ChatGPT exploded in 2023. And what do we mean by that? Well, what we see increasingly is that people expect to get the insights that they need at the time they need them in the places they work, as opposed to always going into a BI tool and having to run a report or interact with a dashboard. They are increasingly expecting these things delivered to them at the right time in the right place. And AI can help with that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But AI is not going to be the only thing that helps solve that problem. There's a lot to it. Also, the way that BI interacts with other departments is changing over time. For a long time, business intelligence departments in large companies, especially, were kind of an island, right? They would produce the reports and they would take requests, but did they interact with data science very deeply? Oftentimes, no, right? Did they interact with data engineering or if you have departmental analytics or data science teams? Oftentimes, no. Well, we're really seeing that break down over the course of the last few years, and the expectation that your BI and your reporting should work in concert with your data scientists and in concert with departmental analytics teams is really taking over the industry. Now, that's, like I said, we'll talk about AI. AI is part of it, but it's much more than that. And one of the challenges that we're seeing in BI teams, and you can go to the next slide, Greta, is that there's a lot of organizational challenges and technology challenges to really adapting to this way of thinking and working, this new collaborative, highly integrated analytics and business intelligence department. And that takes many forms, of course. It's not just the tools, although the tools are part of it. But there is, technical debt that's been built up. Of course, it's challenging to deal with. Skill set changes. When I started my career as a business intelligence person in 2009, it actually wasn't even necessarily expected that in BI you would be particularly good at SQL, for example, because the BI tools all wrote SQL for you. And so you would learn the BI interface, but did you have to become an SQL expert? No. We've seen that kind of ebb and flow over the years, but now it's more than just SQL. We would argue to be a really effective BI department, you need some app dev skills. You need to know Python. You need to have someone who understands React, if that's your standard front end library, to really kind of take the insights in BI and the value that you generate as a department and move it into other parts of the organization where you can get recognition for that work. You need to know more than just a BI tool. And so we've seen all of these changes happen in the last few years, evolving expectations from our end users, evolving pressure to collaborate, to deliver insights faster, and our processes and tooling haven't always kept up. And that's what we're going to address in the remainder of this presentation. So, that kind of sets the stage. Certainly, the BI tools that we've had that have all been very successful in the past fit very neatly into the world of the past. And now this new world, this rapidly changing world, we need a new definition of BI and a new set of capabilities and philosophies to guide us to deliver what our end users expect and to get recognized, for the value that we deliver as business intelligence and analytics professionals. And so, go ahead and move to the next slide. So, what does that mean, right? The subtitle of this presentation, I think it was like, why your next BI tool shouldn't be a BI tool. It should say, shouldn't just be a BI tool, right? The BI feature set is important, but there's way more that we need to deliver now as practitioners. And as we see it, there's really three big problems with BI today. And so what are they? The first one is, nobody wants to go into a BI tool. And that's something that we've struggled with as an industry for a long time. The classic formulation of this problem is, oh, my users just dump the data to Excel. They just dump the data to Excel, right? You can also look at the analysts we have in the industry, Gartner, Forrester, they produce these reports that say oftentimes, only 17% of the total audience for business intelligence is actually using business intelligence tools. Why is that? And you may think it's, like the interface isn't easy enough, or they haven't been trained. Those things are true. Like those are impediments. But fundamentally, I think the problem is that they have the places they do work. And if they have to leave that interface and go into BI to answer data questions, there's just always going to be a fundamental adoption problem that's going to be very hard for us to overcome. Many people will say, natural language queries, like BI tool will have AI and you'll be able to log into the BI tool and interact with a chatbot to get your questions answered. And I would say the first problem with that is the words log into the BI tool. People expect to be able to use data to do their job in the places they do their job. And so that's the first challenge we need to solve. The second challenge with embracing this new world that we're coming into as data practitioners is that BI in particular is an island. And what I mean by that is BI has really struggled with integration with the rest of the data stack. So if you think about data modeling and the whole practice of data engineering that has arisen over the last 5-7 years with tools like dbt, that is a very software engineering oriented approach, and they are big on integrations and automations. Whereas our BI tooling and our BI philosophies have often kind of viewed BI as something that sits on top of the data warehouse, but it has its own way of interacting, right? It's not deeply integrated with the data warehouse and the process that builds the data warehouse. It's not integrated into CI/CD. You don't have automated deployments. You don't have code control. Everything's done very manually. And your interaction with the rest of your data tools tends to be, my BI tool sends SQL to a data warehouse, and then I get a result set back, right? But you're not integrated on the level of APIs and SDKs and automated deployments and code control where you really have tight integrations between the underlying data stack and BI. We don't have any of that. And in order to provide the types of insights users expect in the places they expect them with the level of data quality that they need, that's something that we're going to have to change, both from what our tools can do and also as far as how we work as practitioners. And then the final piece that BI tools really struggle with, and I hear this a lot when I talk to people, is the so what, right? So a BI tool might be great at helping you, uncover an insight. You can go in, you can explore the data, you can see, okay, sales were up or down last year, and you can explore some of the related attributes or other metrics that might be driving that. But then the question becomes, okay, what now? And there's two layers to what now. There's an operational layer and an analytical layer. The analytical layer is like, okay, so how should I think about this? Or what next action should I take from a business process or strategic perspective? The operational layer is just as important. And what the operational layer is, oftentimes an insight can be found in BI, but then you need to do something. You need to place an order or cancel an order or assign an account to a sales rep based on what you uncovered in the analytics tool. And uh, both of these things BI tools have historically struggled with. And so that's what we're seeking to address, both with our tool at GoodData, but also with kind of with an eye towards the way practitioners think and the way we go about doing our jobs as data people also needs to adjust to work with that. So if you go to the next slide, Greta,
Mhm.
what do we really mean by this? Well, the first thing has to do with leveraging analytical content in any user interface. And I talked about this earlier. This has to do with getting the data and the insights to the places where people do their work as being a barrier that can really overcome that, or something that can really overcome that adoption barrier that we've had in business intelligence historically. There's there's a few facets of that. And the way we approach it at GoodData is, of course, we have a BI user interface, right? It does what a BI user interface does. It's got dashboards and reports. You can go in, you can build things, you can model data, you can define new metrics, all of that good stuff. But then you can take the content out of GoodData and put it into other places. And this is when we traditionally think of embedding in BI. What we traditionally meant was, I'm gonna make a dashboard in BI, and then I'm gonna take an iframe and put it into some other app, right? Or maybe, I can take an individual visualization and I can integrate that into another app. And of course we can do that in GoodData, but really kind of the next level of this has to do with not just taking an individual piece of content out of the BI tool and putting it somewhere else, but really doing a deeper integration at the API level between the BI tool and the applications that your users interact with, so that you can drive actions in those applications. You can build kind of custom front end components in those applications, but you're still pulling data through the BI tool. You're still using the BI tool security, the BI tool semantic layer, the BI tool query engine. And so you kind of have all three of these levels or layers available to you, depending on what the best experience for your end users is. In GoodData, one of the things you can do that's really helpful is our drag and drop kind of self-service visualization builder is embeddable. And so just taking that classic BI, I want to build a chart experience out of the BI tool and putting it in your end user facing application or your customer facing application will give you a huge increase in engagement just because they don't have to leave that interface. They can stay in one interface, they can see analytics content and visualizations. And then if they want to build their own visualization, they can stay right there. They don't go anywhere else. You don't have this engagement drop that comes from context switching and application switching. And so that's a huge thing that we see giving you an advantage going forward. And that goes beyond kind of traditional BI tool capabilities. Go ahead and advance the slide. The next thing has to do with this integration between the BI tool and the rest of the data stack. And so what we've traditionally seen is that the BI tool is very separate from the rest of the data stack. It tends to have very bare bones integration. There's very little automation. You do a lot of rework in the BI tool. So say you build a data model in Snowflake, and now you need to go into the BI tool and build a data model again, essentially. It may be there may be things you're adding in BI that aren't in Snowflake, for example, but a lot of what you do is replicating work that was already done because you don't have these automations and these integrations. And so what we see as a huge force multiplier for your work in an analytics or data department has to do with the ability to do that integration and automation so that things stay inline so that if you add new tables to Snowflake, they automatically appear in your BI tool. The metrics are automatically available for your end users to access, and there's no need to do any manual integration tasks. And the way we do that is because in GoodData, everything is versionable via code. We have YAML and JSON files describing all the objects, and we have these APIs that allow you to build these integrations really easily between any application. I've been talking a lot about Snowflake just as an example, because many of you have Snowflake or other cloud data warehouses. But let's say you also have some custom homegrown application and you want to get data out of that and into your BI. Well, using our APIs, it's quite easy to build this automatic integration so that as your application changes, as new data points are available in your application, they're automatically imported into BI and made available to developers and self-service users without you having to do anything. And this allows you to focus much more on delivering value, answering hard questions, and building, more, building out quicker and scaling what you've built, as opposed to having to do so much plumbing work once these integrations are set up. Now, if you go to the next slide, another way that we approach this has to do with our product portfolio. So in GoodData, we really have three products. We have GoodData Business Intelligence, GoodData Artificial Intelligence, and GoodData Analytics Lake. And so you can do within our platform kind of the end-to-end analytics journey where we've integrated it all together for you. You can move data in, you can move data into GoodData, put it into our in-memory data marts, query it from there, both from our front end and from other systems. So even other BI tools can point to our analytics lake. And our artificial intelligence tools as well, like our chatbot and our data storytelling features, can sit on top of that same data source. So we give you the tools to integrate with your existing systems, but also through our full product portfolio, the ability to move data into GoodData, and we handle the integration for you. Is one of the big things that we see. And the way that the line between BI and other parts of the data stack is blurring is something we're really supporting with what we offer. You can go to the next slide, Greta. The final piece of the puzzle here into like how to bring this all together is to embrace this idea of what we call composability. And what composability means, and this is another idea from software engineering, is to build in small pieces and then give yourself the ability to assemble those pieces as needed to meet different user requirements. This is also a big piece, and I mentioned it before a little bit about product thinking, but this is also really supports kind of the product approach to delivering analytics. And so what we mean by this is, using GoodData, we have all these different components. We have our front end, our SDKs, our embedding capabilities, our in-memory cache, data pipelines, all that stuff within the tool. And then you can kind of, you build a dashboard, and then the dashboard can be used across many data products, many interfaces. An individual visualization can be in 100 dashboards. And if you change that visualization in one place, it will update in all 100 dashboards because we keep all these links together of what content belongs where. So you're not recreating things. You're not having to build 10 versions of the same dashboard. It's all kind of linked together. And this is this idea of composability, right? So building small and then reusing pieces over and over again will dramatically enhance your speed, time to delivery, your time to value for your end users and customers. And it will dramatically enhance your ability to support it all. So as you scale, people often think scale is about concurrent users or amount of data or query performance. It is about all those things. But even more than that going forward, scale will be about your ability to efficiently build data products and support them throughout their life cycle. That's a huge component of scale too. That just goes beyond pure technology. And that's what what composability means. It gives you the ability to efficiently do that. So if you go to the next slide. So, what are the top three features to look for to help with these problems? Well, it's real composability and advanced embedding. The ability to build in small pieces and assemble, to build your final product. And the ability to do more than just, hey, I want to take a dashboard and iframe it in somewhere, right? The ability to use APIs and SDKs and React for embedding, to build more complicated, custom user-facing data products. CI/CD and data stack integration. In 2025, if you're looking at a BI tool and that BI tool doesn't have declarative APIs and can't integrate with your CI/CD tooling and can't really become a core part of your data team processes and automation, it's not going to fit into this world where we're expected to deliver all these different user experiences efficiently. And finally, workflows that enable user interaction. We talked about the so what, like what comes next. Okay, I saw visualization, but now what do I need to do? And the way we support that, and what you need to look for in BI tools is, can the BI tool not just integrate with the applications that are upstream of it to import data and model data, but can it integrate with the applications that are downstream, so that if an end user sets up an alert, that alert can do more than just send an email. It can make a change in one of your business applications, right? It can, it can assign accounts to new sales reps based on quota attainment, something like that, right? Based on the data you have in BI, automatically, as opposed to, oh yes, we discovered something interesting, and now we have to go manually ask someone to take an action somewhere else. So these are the kind of the three things that we see. Now, this is all very technical. It's interesting. The thing that wraps around this whole thing that will really help you deliver value quickly as an analytics and data organization is to think like a product team, not like a classic BI team. And what do we mean by that? We mean embracing the product thinking process. There's a lot of talk in the industry right now about data products and what is a data product. And that's not as important as what is the process and mindset that goes into producing a data product. And that means tight alignment with your users, working iteratively, building small, identifying success criteria ahead of time, monitoring those success criteria over time, and being willing to, kind of adjust what you build or even sunset products if they're not working anymore. All of that product thinking combined with the engineering and technology approaches that we've talked about up to this point in the presentation is what will enable you to deliver more, faster, better, and efficiently with modern BI tools like GoodData, as opposed to antiquated BI tools that require you to do everything manually and think like a 2010s BI team. So we'll go ahead and pause there and see if there are any questions in the chat. Of course, answer a question now, and we're happy to address it. But I'll kick it over to Greta now to start off our conversation.
Yeah, we've got a couple questions in the chat, so I might read them out and get your thoughts, Ryan. But first, you mentioned at the very end there, the data product approach is more important than the actual definition of a data product. But I'm curious how you would define a data product, because when I think about a data product, I think about some DBA is delivering a table, or the data team's delivering a table. That's their product. And that's kind of where it ends. But now it's more next leveled, it's automated, reusable. There's some level of rigor and hardening that goes into it that makes it, more scalable. Maybe there's automation, even if it's an internal data product. So what's your definition of data product?
Yeah,
right now?
No, this is such a point of debate. It's funny. So a data product, you're right. A lot of people will argue that a data product is a table or a set of APIs or maybe a data mart or something like that. That it's the output of kind of the data engineering team. But I think that that takes too narrow of a view. So if you just analogize data to other industries, say you're making cars, right? Well, if you're making cars, there's a company that makes steel and aluminum, and to them the product is steel and aluminum. And then there's a company that takes that steel and aluminum and machines it and stamps it into door frames, and to them the product is door frames. and then eventually you get to General Motors, and General Motors product is cars. And I would say we need to think the same way in the data industry. So, yes, a table is a data product. A set of APIs could be a data product for the teams that produce that part of the data supply chain. But if you're in BI and analytics, the part of the supply chain you produce is the end user facing part. It's the metrics that the end users need and the interfaces that they interact with to get those metrics. And
Hmm.
for you, that's the data product. And so, my definition of a data product um, is really less about what it is and more about the process you use to make it. And so, to sum it up, I would say, on BI and analytics teams, like, we need to treat what we create as if it were a product we had to sell, right? As if we had a P&L and we were in risk of going out of business. You would treat that very differently than kind of in the classic IT waterfall, delivering tickets from a ticketing system world, right? You would treat it very differently, and so it's the process and mindset you use to build it, to me, that defines a data product, and less what the actual object is.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
I see.
Oh,
I see. We just had a question come in from Francesco Papini. He says, "Do you think that Gartner is keeping all these modern concepts into account when they publish the BI Magic Quadrant?" Yeah, I think they are. I think that Gartner has many different types of organizations that they work with. And so what I would say about the BI Magic Quadrant is that they're taking input from all over, from many industries at many levels of maturity. And some of the concepts we've talked about today, you know, are are, are they're forward thinking. And so, Gartner talks to a lot of very large, successful enterprises, huge companies all over the world, right? And and these ideas are starting to permeate those companies. And as they do, Gartner will hear about them more and more. But I can tell you, I do think Gartner takes this into account when it comes to the BI Magic Quadrant. It's just, they have to take a lot of things into account. They talk to many people and get many perspectives, um, and so they have to bring a lot of different data points together. But this is, I think you'll see increasingly that Gartner will be hearing more about this from their customers as their customers adopt it, and then we'll probably see that have some impact on Gartner's analyses. Is my prediction.
Yeah, and I'll be curious what terminology follows that, because if Gartner adopts it, it might become more common and standardized in the marketplace, like data products versus data apps versus some other
Yeah,
terminology, just to clarify what we're all talking about.
yeah, exactly. I mean, data product is a perfect one, right? Like,
Yeah,
how do they define data product, and does it match my definition? Probably not right now. We'll see.
nice. Okay, thank you. And thanks for the question, Francesco. Okay, another one is, what are the limitations of BI tools that most companies struggle with today?
Yeah, I mean, the login screen. No, uh, I joke, but I do think one of the fundamental limitations we've had in BI is is that we're really asking our users to context switch and go into some special interface and learn a special interface that is disconnected from their day-to-day work. And a lot of people just don't want to or aren't able to do that, right? And so that's really where we see a lot of success in our customers is their ability to take not just the objects, the reports and dashboards, but even like the BI functionality, the self-service builder, right? The filtering capabilities, the interactivity, and to take that out of BI and put it where people actually work. I mean, that's a huge one that I see companies struggle with. Anybody who's been in BI for a amount of time understands and has felt the frustration of, we do all this work and then it doesn't seem like, people don't use it as much as we expect. Or um, and that's a big reason why, actually, I think is that they don't know how to go into the BI tool. They don't want to go into the BI tool, or like people come to you on the BI team and they ask you for data, and you're like, we've had this data in the BI tool for 3 years, but your end user doesn't know, and that's because of a failure to move that data into the place where it will actually reach them, right? As opposed to asking them, putting the onus on them to come to your BI tool to find your insights. You need to get your insights to them.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ryan. What about maybe like the softer side? Is it like inertia, change management?
Yeah.
Is it like, I imagine there's maybe a lot with data integration and, news sources like streaming or other things to deliver, the most relevant and useful
I,
data products.
yeah, I mean, I think that word data products is a big piece of it. Many data teams historically, and the BI team in particular, have thought of themselves kind of as, you can fall into this habit of just delivering tickets, and especially if you're a customer facing BI team, let's say you're making a product for consumption outside your organization, it's a little, you haven't faced as much of this pressure. But even then, you fall into this habit of kind of like delivering things and then moving on, right? That's been our mindset in data for a long time. Well, we're going to do this big project, then we're going to deliver the project, and now we're going to move on to something else. And that's really, I think that mindset, it doesn't serve our era. The mindset now is, I'm going to do a small pilot, I'm going to deliver it quickly, and I'm going to learn, and we're going to build iteratively from there. And you might say, oh, well, that's just agile. Agile is part of it, but it's more about the product thinking, the end user alignment, the deep understanding of their expectations, and your willingness to manage your data products or assets over time, like proactively over time, to make sure that they're still useful. So that hey, that report we built last year that everybody loved, suddenly nobody's using it. Why? Um, uh, BI teams have always really struggled with that, and I think that's a mindset shift that you have to engage in.
Yeah, it's almost like in that way, you're almost thinking like maybe a UX type person, like get out there and interview your end users, understand their experience, their flow, at what point they're using these tools and measuring the results. And so, yeah, it actually takes on many different skill sets borrowed from different parts of the organization historically.
Yeah, I
Okay.
we have seen like some of our customers are starting to hire people with the title data product manager, which I think is a very interesting and, from my perspective, welcome development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, we're almost at time here. Maybe we just have one more question, Ryan. I know this whole presentation was about trends and things like that, but if you just had to kind of rattle off the most significant trends that you think people should keep their ears and eyes open for in 2025, what would those be?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to start with AI.
Of
Um,
course.
uh, what I would tell people is, yeah, like AI is a huge one. It's very interesting. There's going to be lots of great developments. We have some awesome stuff coming out in beta right now. If you're one of our existing customers and you want to test out some our AI features, they're in beta. So you're able to test them now. AI is a big one, but I think there's going to be a lot of heat around the data products conversation in 2025, and I think in BI in particular, you're going to start to see a lot more recognition of the analytics as code concept, and the idea that on a BI team you need to have some coding skills and you need to be able to do these types of integrations. We're seeing that more and more. That's a crucial and recognized area of development that we need as an industry.
Yeah. You talked about earlier about kind of like the move maybe from piecemealed solutions to kind of like end-to-end platform.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
I'm
that's a
curious
huge one.
also, yeah, I'm curious also along with that if we're also seeing a little bit of a shift with on-prem versus cloud and what customers are expecting there.
Yeah, yeah. Two things I would say that strikes in my mind. The first one, there there was this movement, the modern data stack, and the idea behind the modern data stack was, every piece of data of the data workflow, I'm going to buy like a best in breed tool, right? So I'll get the best in breed ETL tool, but like I'll buy a different tool for ELT, for ELT or reverse ETL, right? And then I'll get a tool, and so we developed all these almost micro applications in a way. My friend Chris Tabb recently, yesterday on LinkedIn, posted something about like, hey, that's a feature, not a tool, and so I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation there. And if you look at what we talked about today, GoodData, like we're trying to offer that end to end experience for you, not just BI, but also data storage, caching, computation, semantics, pipelines. I think you're going to increasingly see people shifting to these solutions that can do that, as opposed to buying, this point solution that can do just one piece of what they need and then stitching it together themselves. Then when it comes to on-prem versus cloud, very interesting. We are seeing a move. Oh, I wouldn't say. I mean, away from cloud is maybe not the right term, although there is some of that. But also, just to move to like self-hosting for the biggest client, for the most sensitive workloads. They say actually, kind of, we don't want a SaaS application. We want to deploy it and manage it ourselves on our cloud infrastructure. That might be on one of the public cloud providers, or it might literally be on an on-prem data center. We are seeing customers move to on-prem data centers. Not a stampede yet, but it's very interesting development. And so, for companies that have the resources to self-host tools, that's becoming an increasingly attractive option.
Nice.
Damien, I see we just have a question come in. Mean you're using medallion-driven pipelines and also some medallion architecture as well. Yeah, essentially. Like there's this term medallion architecture is interesting to me. It comes out of Databricks and their approach, but it really kind of means like iterative data processing from raw to like final, star schema or whatever the final analytics reporting format is. And so yes, that's something that we see and that you can support in GoodData. Now we got also lots of good questions coming in. All right, Francesco asks another one here. A big distinction: extract versus live. Writing SQL is a big limitation. All the big vendors are trying SQL, but they seem more comfortable with their own data manipulation. Microsoft prefers stacks. Yes, this is something that we're addressing in GoodData. So if you're a GoodData customer, you know that we have Macwl is kind of our proprietary language, but you can import data into our semantic layer using SQL. And I think, from a roadmap perspective, we don't have any timelines on it yet, but you'll see an increasing usage of SQL directly in GoodData going forward. So you'll have Macwl, but also SQL will increasingly become a peer of Macwl. So because we recognize you have SQL skills, right? And you want to apply them. So letting you do that more and more in GoodData is a priority of ours.
We've got one other one here as well about kind of data people versus business people,
Yeah,
interest in the why, what the problem is solving.
yeah,
What's your opinion on this?
yeah, William. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think this is going to become so. Let's put on our prognosticating hat. As AI becomes more technically capable, this is going to become more and more important for you as a data person. Um, AI is already pretty good at interpreting many questions and say generating a visualization to answer those questions. Is it as good as human beings? No, it's not. I'm pretty confident it will be, and it won't be that long that we have to wait for that. And again, to plug our AI beta, we have some of that capability today that you can join if you sign up for our AI beta. You can test it out. Where the value will really come from as a data person increasingly is in your ability to be that bridge between the world of data and the world of business. And the more you can understand the business the business terminology, what makes your users money, right? What makes your company money? If you're on a data team and you can't answer that question, like you're behind now. The question I always asked myself when I before I got into product, when I was a practitioner, when I was in our audience's shoes, is like, what would get my users promoted? And if I could understand that, like what could I do to help this director become a VP with data? That would require me to really deeply understand their perspective and what their needs are and what will drive success for their department. And so that was kind of my hack always was to think from that perspective, and I would encourage you to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think like from my perspective on this, it's like maintaining curiosity. And like you said, Ryan, supporting the real business problems, not just like the problem that's presented. Sometimes we do
Yeah,
fall into, like you said, being an order taker, especially, I don't know if any of you have been part of BI teams that actually took requests via Jira tickets, and that's like about the level of interaction that you have. Or maybe then we evolve to like business and technical requirements, which starts getting at the business questions. But still, I think the best way is like having a real human to human conversation and try to understand what's being achieved. And sometimes it's even pushing back on the request,
yeah,
right? And trying to
yeah,
kind of push push the end user to think about something different that's ultimately going to be more successful.
absolutely. All right. Um,
I think that's
so I
about it.
think I think we're almost at time here. Do we want to go ahead and wrap things up?
Yeah. Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for the great questions. Let
Yeah.
me just share just one more slide to close this out. Um, Okay, so if you enjoyed this discussion, if you want to be aware of other meetups, events, conferences we're attending, things like that, please follow us on social media, especially LinkedIn. That's where all of these types of invitations get posted. You can stay up to date with us, know where we are, meet us in person. We love to meet up in person. Feel free to get in touch with us. I have Ryan's email, my email listed here. Feel free to reach out. Also, we have a very vibrant Slack community of different users just like you, along with our team, partners, other people in the industry. There's always new features being posted. There's always good questions, tips and tricks, stuff like that. Please join, and you can also access, our team from there as well. Also, not on the slide, but we will be at Gartner Orlando. Speaking of Gartner from the question earlier, the first week of March. So if you are there and want to meet up, drop us a line, LinkedIn us, whatever, minimally stop by our booth. We're a sponsor, so you should see our presence there, and we'd love to meet you. And then we will also be at Great Lakes Data and Analytics Conference in Detroit in the first week of April. This is a little bit smaller conference, but it's a really high quality Midwest conference. There's a lot of different like industrials, automotive customers, and it's always a really good meetup. We're also a sponsor there. We'll have a presentation and would love to meet you. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for tuning in. Again, we will send out the recording and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.